Today's guest on JazzWatch, saxophonist and composer Tivon Pennicott, will celebrate the release of his new CD, Lover of Nature, January 31st in live performance at Jenny's Supper Club in Harlem, New York, 125th Street in Lenox. Showtimes are 7:30 and 10 p.m. More information on that at TivonPennicott.com. Are you hearing the other music? Hello and welcome once again to JazzWatch. Yours truly, your friendly neighborhood jazz crusader, the Watchman, Greg Bryant, over the microphone. So glad to have you with us, and man, we appreciate your ongoing support of this podcast. We're trying to build it up for you, a repository of good information, great conversation, and groovin', swingin' sounds. We hope that you're digging it, and the ways to show that, let us know. Leave us a review, a good thumbs up over there at Stitcher Radio, if that's the way you listen to us. If you've subscribed to us via iTunes, make sure to leave us a review there on the JazzWatch page there for the podcast section. That kind of helps us to get up and above the clutter, and it helps to let other folks know that we exist. We're out here doing our thing. We appreciate your continued support. Man, November was a banner month. December is shaping up to even be better than that. So we're glad to each of you all for checking us out. Remember our mother site, if you want to go and look at synopsis of the different episodes we've done, listen to them there as well at jazzwatch.wordpress.com. Follow us on Twitter. You can catch us on Facebook as well. Join the page. You can see what we're working on. We post updates over there. That's facebook.com/jazzwatch. If you're kind of more on the moderate side and dig just doing the email thing, that's cool too. You can reach me at GB, as in Greg Bryant, gbjazzwatch@gmail.com. gbjazzwatch@gmail.com. Welcome once again to JazzWatch. Man, we've got a great show for you today. If you haven't heard of this young man, you will today. As a matter of fact, and even beyond this particular podcast, he's making some waves and is going to continue to do so. Mark my words. Tivon Pennicott. Tivon Pennicott, saxophonist and composer and arranger. His new project with a band called Sound Quartet, Tivon Pennicott's Sound Quartet, just released their debut CD, Lover of Nature. Man, it is something else. Mike Battaglia on piano, Kenneth Salters at the drums, Spencer Murphy on bass, Tivon Pennicott out front on that powerful tenor saxophone. Man, I've seen him play. He is an extension, is an extension of him. That horn is a part of his aura, man. He just flows through that thing like no other, man. He's a unique young man, and you're going to be hearing more about him. If you've heard Grammy Award-winning Kenny Burrell on guitar, you may have checked out Tivon's playing on his CD, Be Yourself, or Grammy Award-winning vocalist Gregory Porter. The Be Good and Liquid Spirit CDs have some memorable solos, contributions from today's guest on JazzWatch, tenor saxophonist Tivon Pennicott. We're going to talk with him in just a moment. You want to stay tuned for that. Also in the pipeline here at JazzWatch, man, we've got some great interviews in store for you. Make sure that you check out our page and stay tuned. We'll be updating it with a brand new conversation with drummer Tivon Gully. Tivon Gully is quite a cat. As you know, you've heard him with the Christian McBride Band, with the David Sanborn Ensemble, with Charlie Hunter, with John Ellis. Now he's playing, of course, touring the world with Grammy Award-winning vocalist Diane Reeves. But we're going to talk to Mr. Gully, Tivon Gully, that is, the master of the drums, in just a week or so. That's going to be out, so you want to check for that. Also, we're going to be speaking with one of my heroes. That's the great drummer Roy McCurdy. Roy McCurdy, you know him best for his tenure with the late, great Cannonball Adderley's quintet, in addition to many other recordings that he's graced with his presence. Of course, he's an award-winning educator at USC these days, in addition to staying busy on the West Coast scene and abroad. But, man, we're going to talk to Roy McCurdy. We're going to talk to him, and he's going to tell us all about it right here on JazzWatch. A little bit of drum fever, I guess, but nonetheless, we're here, and we have it just for you. We're excited about that. It's coming up real soon. Make sure that you check us out again and again. Well, we're going to hear some music right now from Tivon Pennicott, this brand new CD. I do advise that you check it out, that you purchase a copy, that you dig into it, because he's saying something special. It's called Lover of Nature, and it features Tivon Pennicott's Sound Quartet. After we play some of this for you, we're going to give you our conversation, our chat with Tivon Pennicott right here on JazzWatch with yours truly, the Watchman, Greg Bryant. Man, you are a bad dude.
I appreciate that. Well,
that's for sure.
Here we are.
That's for sure, man. Man, tell me, how'd you grow up, man? How'd you get into music in general?
I was well, music in general. My family is pretty musical, just naturally. Coming from my parents, both parents are from Jamaica, from St. Elizabeth, to the States in the 70s.
Hmm.
So, you know, and I was born in Georgia, you know, with them. And they were all, my dad was always playing like guitar and harmonica at the same time. Very musical, always kind of dancing, and my mom, same way, singing in church, playing, both parents singing in church, playing in church in Jamaica, which is, my opinion, is a very unique way of coming into jazz, you know, from not just the church, but Jamaican church.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so they moved to Georgia and got involved into this third aspect of music, and which it was church, but it wasn't just church. I didn't grow up in, like, you know, the typical black church.
Okay.
It was a very southern white, you know, church, which they were playing some music, but for some reason, you know, my parents were so conservative, and they were so conservative, they just matched. And so I was, you know, we were like the one black family in a huge, not a huge, but a small white church, you know, and like Jamaican family. And so those three influences: Jamaican church, and like a white kind of influence, which is, it's a different sound.
Mm-hmm.
But I had that in, you know, doing that, hearing that all the time. And I played, but my parents would do devotions, like, you know, have like my dad would have us wake up and do Bible stories and stuff, and after that we would play music.
Wow.
And they would sing hymns, just do that. And I just grew up hearing that all the time. And then I would, you know, my sister plays piano, mom would sing, my dad would play bass. I didn't have anything to play, so I'd get some cups and beat on the cups with some pencils. I was ready to go. My dad's like, "Oh man, you want to play?" He bought me some drums. So my first real instrument was a drum set when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then 2 years later, I went to school, and I was like, "Oh, we want to do, you know, pick an instrument for school." And I'm like, my dad's like, "You should play the horn. You should play the saxophone." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And just picked it up, played it, and it just kind of came easier than the drums came, you know. So I just kind of kept with that.
Wow.
So that's, you know, a small history of how I grew up.
Man, that's really special, man. And for those of us who may not know, when you say kind of Jamaican church, maybe what are the aspects of that define it as a, you know, unique experience musically? What are some of the elements of it?
Yeah, it's more, you know, there's a Caribbean influence where, you know, like kind of an island flavor. You know, people could pretty much imagine that with like reggae kind of sound, reggae with African roots in it. You know, with, you know, very, very groove oriented, but very free, and more like a rhythm. And we'd be singing about Jesus, you know? Just like a very, very groovy, like dance music almost, but in my aspect, in my experience, it's, you know, more, just more church vibe.
Man, that's cool. That's really cool, man. And I'd imagine, like you say, you picked up the saxophone. Was it the tenor first or the alto?
It was the tenor. It was right to the tenor.
Wow.
And I'm short. I'm like, right now I'm 5'4". So when I started when I was 12, you know, I was like, that thing was way bigger than me. It was almost the same size as me. And people would be like, "Why are you starting on tenor? Once you start on something else?" I'm like, "No, I want to play the tenor. I had no rhyme or reason. I just looked at it and said, "Yep, that's what I'm going to play."
That's your horn. I hear you. I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you, man. Man, well, you were meant for it. Your sound, man, is so natural. It's almost like an extension of you, man. And I've watched you play live, sitting in with Johnny O'Neill earlier this year, and Stacy Dillard came in, and you guys just had a ball. And man, the first thing I saw when I saw you live, it's like, man, this piece of equipment is an extension of his body. It's just like an extra, outpouring. And I guess, man, naturally you said you gravitated to it, fairly easy. Were there some players that you identified, say in high school or what have you, when you started sort of listening to this kind of music, that were kind of a fit for your conception at all?
Yeah, well, when I was in middle school, I want to say this guy's name. His name is Chad Davenport, along with Chris Ford. They were my band directors at this middle school in Georgia. And when I had picked my instrument, we were learning the basics and everything. I had no idea, any real idea, how big of an impact the saxophone was for music, just in general. But as I kept playing, he would introduce different sounds, slowly, very very strategically, in a great way to kind of move me into hearing different types of music. And I remember him. Well, he started a jazz band. He's like, we're gonna have a jazz ensemble, and we're gonna, do some different music. And I just remember him putting me on the tenor part. I had learned how to read, and I could do all that, but just to hear that sound when he counted it off, he would show each instrument what to do. I just remember that moment of, like, him counting off the band and me reading the part, just the sound of, like, the big band behind me, and, like, it was something very, very special. It just hit me. It was just there.
Wow.
I don't know what it was. I can't explain it. I just know that I was like, wow. And, like, immediate goosebumps, like, chills down my spine. I'm, like, 12 years old. And I'm just like, okay, what is this,
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like, almost like it was always been there,
Wow.
It's very weird to explain it. But, but yeah, and obviously that experience, when I tell you goosebumps and chills, I'm, like, automatically interested. So I go out and I ask him about it. I'm like, yo, I need what can I listen to? And I'm like asking him. He's like, check out Duke Ellington, because we were playing a lot of Duke Ellington's music.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first jazz albums, the Duke Ellington suites, those Christmas, the Nutcracker suites.
Yeah.
Duke Ellington, those were my first jazz CDs, and I would listen to that constantly. And yeah. Then later on, he put on this saxophone player who we all know now, but I didn't know who he was. It was Joshua Redman.
Mm-hmm.
Playing hide and seek. Boom, 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 boom. That's my first. I'm like, is that a saxophone? And I was like, what's happening? And so just things kind of just kept, snowballing from there.
Wow. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. And I get you growing up in Georgia. I grew up in Tennessee, and I'm still around here. And a lot of times we don't always have the benefit, unfortunately, in the South, of some of the major tours these days kind of coming through here. We do get some, and it's getting better. But I guess, man, was there a time that you were able to get out, as a high schooler, or even, I guess, in your early college years? What was some of the first, like, major cats coming through that you had an opportunity to see?
Okay. When I was still in middle school, or maybe it was the beginning of high school, actually. The beginning of high school, they had my high school band director, Stutz Wimmer, is a huge influence on my development as a jazz musician. But he was exposing me to different people, and some people who came in town. The earliest things I remember are from, because we were a part of the Lincoln Center, the Duke Ellington competition.
Okay.
That they did, for high schools. And I remember him preparing the band, the high school band, for the competition. He would bring in some of these guys who were from Georgia, from Lincoln Center, like Victor Goins and Wycliffe Gordon.
Oh, sweet.
And all those guys. I remember them coming and giving, kind of doing a clinic / rehearsing bands and preparing us for that. It was a good experience to meet them and just kind of vibe with them. Marcus Printup was also down there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there's some other cats that I'm not mentioning, but yeah, those were some early guys. And then, from there I remember getting to experience listening to Herbie Hancock. I went all the way to Herbie. He went to this, they had a clinic, which he exposed me to, and he was just kind of playing the piano. I didn't really realize the impact of who was there. I'm always like, oh yeah, Herbie Hancock, but I was there hanging out, listening, and he would show us some stuff. It's pretty amazing. I'm like, wow. And they did a show with Herbie and Michael Brecker. Michael Brecker was there. And I remember hearing him and being like, okay, so now I know the saxophone can do that if the right person is playing it. He was virtuosic, man. Master.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, man. Those are like some early guys that I heard in town, thanks to my band director exposing me.
Man, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And as far as college, you were a University of Miami student, is that right?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome, man. So I know moving there, you got to interact with, a lot of cats from around the country who were, serious about their craft, man. Kind of what was it like, being in that environment? How did it kind of prepare you and propel you further?
Well, just to kind of keep adding on to musical influences, as you know, Miami is very Cuban influence, and so as I was going to school, learning from my peers, learning from teachers, and building on my foundations, I had an opportunity to kind of get out in the scene and experience a new sound of jazz, like Latin jazz, I guess what you'd say, and very, very strong rhythmic sense in Miami of those guys. It was just so natural for them. And for me, I was attracted to it just because, it wasn't just the rhythmic things coming out, but it was a sense of groove.
Okay.
And, Afro-Cuban, I felt that connection. And, I would be going out to the kind of like the little jam sessions they had, and just kind of listening and hanging out and playing the music with them, playing jazz standards, but in this, Afro-Cuban influence. And that was a good growing experience for me. And through the school, they would always bring some guys to come through.
Yeah.
And we would hear a variety of different sounds and players. I had the opportunity of building my reading chops with Maria Schneider. They brought her in. We learned all her music.
Wow.
And we did a concert with her. I remember that was a big highlight for me. And also, we had other people come in like Dave Weidman and Randy Brecker. I just remember, them bringing a lot of special guests in, which really
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Throughout college. You know, and when I was in college, I had made some friends who had some, like one friend, he went to UCLA. He ended up transferring to UCLA, and I ended up going out there to just to visit him and check out LA because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
So, and when I went to one of his classes, his ensembles, it so happened that Kenny Burrell was teaching.
Oh, wow.
And I just sat in and played, and I was fortunate that he liked my sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had me play with him in that summer, one of the shows at Catalina's Jazz Club.
Yeah.
And that was in the summer of my college experience. And so I came back to school to finish my last year, but he kept continuing to call me and fly me out there and play.
Oh,
and
man.
that was an amazing experience to play with Kenny Burrell.
Wow. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was
one of the masters, man. One of my favorites, man, and just such a humble human being, man. I got to meet him one time in '01, actually at Catalina's, and I was just so in awe of him. And he was like, you know, it's almost like his attitude was, yeah, that's cool, but I want to know about you. You know, what do you want to do? You know?
Yeah.
It was quite a revelation, man, and to get to play with somebody like that, man, with so much, not only vocabulary, but life experiences and just staying the course, man, that he heard something in you, man, must have been just like, you must, I know you cherish that relationship, man.
Oh, for sure. And I was in awe that he asked me to do that. It was like a big moment for me. You know, I didn't feel ready. I was like, I can't do what? I can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
You know, but he was like, yeah, come on, we're about to do it.
Wow.
Come on, it's about to happen. So, yeah, that was like 2007, and that was really great for me. I ended up recording on his album.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's called Be Yourself, and that was my first recording ever.
Wow.
And it was a great experience. It was a live recording at Dizzy's up in New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell me this, man. Had you already relocated to New York by that point?
No, I was actually planning to. So, I was in this moment of like, I'm finished with school in Miami, and I'm like, okay, let me just take a year off. And I was still in Miami, just playing around the town.
Mm-hmm.
And he had invited me to do this recording. And so I decided to go to New York, and I was talking to people like, I might move here, you know, I'm not sure yet.
Mm-hmm.
But the next year, the following year, I was there, 2009. So I made the plunge.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Man, we'll talk about it, man. It's definitely something that's, I'm sure, on a lot of cats' minds who are, you know, trying to get all they can out of their local scenes and really want to test the big waters, you know, up there.
Yeah.
Man, how did you and how are you finding yourself? I guess you've kind of paved the way for yourself and getting around amongst different sects of musicians and so forth. But when you first came, did you have any kind of a strategy, man? What was your kind of approach to sort of getting around and meeting the different guys?
Yeah. This is pretty heavy, I tell you, man. For me, my personality is, you know, free for all. You know, I'm very spontaneous with what I do, and up to the point of moving to New York, I got an opportunity upstate New York to play at this Christian camp, you know, and I went up there and played some music with like a classical kind of atmosphere.
Okay.
And that was the opportunity that said, oh, cool, I can make some money in the summer and then just kind of move right to the city right after that.
Wow.
It was kind of like, oh, that opportunity happened, okay, I'm going to do that. And it wasn't, I didn't think twice about it. But But saying that, because I didn't prepare, you know, and I advise every musician who wants to move to New York to at least to save a specific amount of money before you go, because I didn't, and that came to bite me, you know. I moved to New York, and while I was there, I was kind of like crashing at different friends' houses, apartments and stuff. And there was one time where I moved to New York, and I was staying at a friend's house, and I was so tired because I had driven from upstate. I hadn't slept all night, and I was just, you know, not thinking straight, basically. And I had all my sheets in my car, and I drove. I had everything in my car, and then I went up to his apartment, and in the process of me taking my sheets out of my car, I guess I put my saxophone on the street or something, and I went up there and I just crashed and fell asleep. The next morning, I'm like, okay, cool, now I'm in New York, yay. And I'm looking around, I'm like, where's my saxophone?
Oh, man.
You know? And it's nowhere to be found.
Ooh.
And my saxophone, I think I had left it on the street, right in the middle of the city. And I never saw that again. So here I am, just moved to New York with my saxophone gone, and with barely enough money to maybe put down on an apartment and buy some stuff. And so that was just the beginning, and I had to go immediately and get another saxophone because that's what I'm there for.
Right.
Just to play. And so,
wow,
man, it was pretty crazy, and that was just the beginning because, you know, I was going out and playing at jam sessions every night. I would be out until like 4 a.m. every single night. Yeah. Playing those jam sessions. But when I was finished, I had to at least go to some friends' apartment. You know. But sometimes when I was new to the city, some of those friends, they weren't that, you know, they were struggling too, and so they couldn't accommodate me as much. And my personality is like, you know, I don't want to bother anybody. Right. And so it got to a point where a sequence of events, I ended up just like living in my car. And the first 2.5 months of being in New York, I was living in my car from September, all of September, all of October until the middle of November.
Mercy.
I was in my car, so I would go to jam sessions, and, you know, luckily for me, you know, I had such a fire and passion for the music that I was just going out there playing, and people were, you know, they're like, who are you? What's your name? Like,
sure.
I was giving my card or whatever, and I would get like little local gigs, you know, start to get little things here and there. Yeah. And, you know, I would get things up to some corporate gigs, you know. So I would have all my stuff in my car and get dressed in my car in my tuxedo and then go drive to the corporate gig and then and then they'll be like, okay, so what address do we send a check, you know? I'm like, what's my license plate number? I can't give them my
wow.
You know, I was like, oh, no, yeah, if you could just send it to me now, it's fine. I don't know. Can you write a check now or something? Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy, man. I was doing that. It started to get cold, you know, in the middle of November, and I was like, oh, man. Wow. But just in the nick of time, I found a really nice apartment uptown. Wow. And, you know, but it was a trip, man. And I look back at it, and I'm like, I cannot believe I did that. But you know, just to say, I went through it, man. Yeah. Wasn't easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, man. But, Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, but playing at the jam sessions was what really helped me, because I just would go and play, and I didn't have a big. I still don't, but I don't have a big repertoire of jazz. So I would just learn the songs on stage, and it it was just so much fun for me to just kind of
Yeah.
be in the environment
Yeah.
and just learning from everybody, hearing the sounds and meeting new people,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and through that, just being on the scene, you know, uptown, downtown Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
I was just always out, you know, and that helps me a lot, you know, the people kind of putting me on for different things. I met the right people, and I started playing with this R&B singer, Joe Thomas, and everybody that I've, you know, kind of like Esperanza, Gregory Porter,
Yeah.
You know, Roy, all those guys, Ari Honig, all these people came through me just hanging out on the team.
Wow.
You know, just playing and them hearing me.
Man.
So, yeah, I'm very fortunate that they saw something in me to kind of help me out.
For sure. No, man, they definitely saw, and man, it's just so amazing, man, to hear about how, you know, the order of your path has progressed, man. I gotta ask you though, man. A lot of people would want to know, man, how did you first come in contact with Gregory Porter? Because for a lot of people around the country, the world even, that's their entree into your sound. You had some memorable moments on, you know, Be Good and on Liquid Spirit. But yeah, man, how'd you get hooked up with Greg?
Well, the old St. Nick's Pub in Harlem is where he was performing and hanging out along with the other musicians before I was in New York.
Right.
So they already had a little something happening there. He would be performing. I think he had like a weekly thing there. And I would, when I moved to New York, St. Nick's Pub was one of the places that I would go and hang out. So I went there, and I would be playing, you know, in the jam session. And eventually, through, you know, some events, he heard me, and, you know, it's pretty that simple. Like, he heard my sound, and he was ready to do a recording, and he called me to play on the album with him. You know, what happened was there's this trumpet player, Melvin Vines, who had a weekly gig there, and he started calling me to play with him.
Okay.
Like a kind of a quintet type of vibe.
Yeah.
And he eventually, I recorded on his album, his Jazz Harlem Machine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what that was called. And, you know, he had Gregory a part of that too, because he had known him. And we ended up, that was my first tour in New York, was going out with Melvin Vines. We went to Japan. And, yep, and we performed. We did like 2 or 3 shows. And Gregory came along too. He wasn't on headlining, but he was He was part of the group. And that was when I got to kind of know Gregory a little bit, just on tour and playing and everything. And when we came back, you know, Gregory had to have his weekly thing at Smoke, and Smoke Jazz Club opened at like the 105th Street, and he would just call me every now and then, say, "Hey man, are you free to play with me?" And you know, I'd be like, yeah, and I would come and play, learn his music. Eventually, came time to do his album, and he hit me up to do the same thing, and I'm really happy that he did that. He's an amazing vocalist and has such a strong sound.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed to be a part of that. Yeah.
Right on, man. Yeah. No doubt, man. No doubt. It's just amazing to hear you guys together, and yeah, man, you've got such a sound that's specific to you, but it brings and it draws people in. It's almost like folks that are way into jazz can hear, like I said, the language that you've accumulated, but also, you know, from cats who may only casually be acquainted with the music. You've got a sound that's very inviting and just come on in, that kind of thing. You know, that's what I first heard, you know, when I heard you. you know, on those. Now, man, you've got a brand new one, and I'm sure you want to talk about it. And I'm so glad that we have you here on JazzWatch with us, man. The brand new project is just out, man. Tell us about it. Tell us about the group and just the impetus behind the recording. I know you're glad to get this out before the people.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, after being in New York about 2 or 3 years, I said to myself, you know, I want to kind of have a group of my own because I'm a leader, you know. At heart, I'm a leader. I love playing sidemen stuff. I'm never going to stop that. But I also need to kind of develop the leadership side of me because I write a lot of music. And I'm composing and always thinking about new sounds. And so I got a group together, and the group consists of my friend from Miami. We learned together coming up to Miami. His name is Mike Battaglia. Plays piano. And I met the bass player, Spencer Murphy, in a small jazz club. I would be playing with him consistently. And I actually met Ken Salters, the drummer, from St. Nick's Pub. The same place I met Gregory Porter. And I remember hearing his sound and being like, who is this guy? So I kind of put these guys together, and I wrote some music that was inspiring me from my experiences in New York.
Wow.
Composition, you know. And so we got together and we started building a sound, and we would play. We had so much fun learning each other and playing. And we'd have some gigs, and it was time for us to record something, and we did it. And it's surprising though. We did this in 2012.
Okay.
It's now 2014. It shows you how busy I've been trying to keep things moving. But I'm really happy that I finally got to release this. The album's called "Lover of Nature." Featuring sound quartet with Mike Battaglia on piano, Spencer Murphy on bass, and Kenneth Salters on drums. And all the songs are my original compositions. And all the songs that I had written are basically an insight into like a particular phase of my life.
Okay.
And kind of moving into the city in late 2009. You know, I had crazy trials and tribulations and all that, to say the least, as you heard.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's just kind of like each song represents like a feeling or expression of an experience in New York that I've been through. So it was nice to kind of put that down.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I guess it's a very, very wonderful title, but a lot of folks are going to ask that maybe aren't familiar with the total of New York. Lover of nature. You know, how can you be, you know, what is there in nature to love in the big city?
That's true. Well, you know, from my foundation, I've always been a natural person, very open, and you know, and accepting to all energies. You know, I'll let anything. I'll give anything a chance, and that's just kind of who I am. And it can be negative sometimes too, because I'm not as responsible as I think I should be with this free mind and you know, just kind of moving around like spontaneous, and you know, like moving to New York with no plans, that kind of thing. Very, very natural thing. But Lover of Nature actually literally is my name in Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah. Tivon means lover of nature, and my parents had named me that. They had heard of the name and they thought it was beautiful. And my sister's name is also a Hebrew name, you know, coming from this Old Testament Christian vibe, which is really great. And it really defines how I am. And in regards to New York, New York, I think it's nice that I kind of bring nature to New York.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just through my, I guess just through who I am. I want to, I really try hard to stay, strong to who I really am. And
Sure.
New York can really change you. It can harden you and get you dark and stuff. But I've made an effort to really maintain my foundation, and that's basically what this album is about. Is my experiences and just observations of Tivon being in New York.
Yeah. Wow. Well, man, I appreciate you, brother, for taking time out to speak with me today, man. You've got a brilliant trajectory, man, and I just can't wait to see what's next and going forward for you, man. Congratulations on everything.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me do this. I had a great time.
Young Man with a Fiery Horn. That's Tivon Pennicott's music from the brand new CD, Lover of Nature. Pick this one up. We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Tivon. Man, he's a bad cat. Cutting his own path, making a way for himself on the big city scene and beyond. Many blessings to him. That was a really enjoyable conversation, man. What a story that young man has and is building upon. We're going to be hearing about him again and again and again. So glad that we got a chance to sit down with him here on JazzWatch, and so glad that you had a listen and subscribe to us. We know you probably already are, but if this is your first time checking us out, we've got some good stuff here. You can peruse it at our mother site. Check it out at jazzwatch.wordpress.com. You can subscribe to all of our episodes for free at iTunes. Get the instant update, and anytime we put something out, it just pops up right there in your storage on your device, man. We really appreciate you for digging us on iTunes. Leave us a comment. If you dug this show, tell us so. Tell somebody else, but leave us a good comment there. It helps us to rise above the clutter, so to speak, over there. If you listen via Stitcher, give us the grand old thumbs up. We do appreciate it. Thanks to our good folks over there at Stitcher for spreading the word about us. As always, you can follow us on Twitter. Check us out via Facebook. Join the page. Stay tuned for our updates. We make them over there at Facebook. We'll let you know, rather, what we're working on. That's facebook.com/jazzwatch. If you like the old-fashioned email, that's gbjazzwatch@gmail.com to reach out to us. We'll catch you next time. In the meantime, make sure that you're checking out the other music.